Welcome back to the channel. I just want to highlight a formula to calculate VO2 max that I've seen in the book The Secret of Running, which I highly recommend. It's a great book, especially if you're interested in running to power. So in the book, I'll just pull up the page. So on page 186 we have this section, how to estimate your VO2 max and functional threshold power from your maximum heart rate and resting heart rate data. So I just want to highlight this formula here. So VO2 max equals 15 times maximum heart rate divided by resting heart rate. This gives a rough estimate of your VO2 max, and I think it's a really useful formula. So basically you just take your maximum heart rate and your resting heart rate, divide those two figures, and then multiply the result by 15. Let's have a look at how that stacks up for me. I'll just move over onto my notebook. Okay, I just want to talk about a simple but powerful formula to calculate VO2 max. So the formula is VO2 equals 15 multiplied by maximum heart rate divided by resting heart rate. Okay, and I just want to show you an example using myself. So for resting heart rate, I use 7-day Garmin average. Maximum heart rate, it is really important you get that correct. The moment I use 192 BPM. The reference I have for this is I did some lactate threshold testing. I did that back in 2014, and at that session my heart rate was increased to 197 BPM at that time, and I've always referenced that. That 2014 test, I've always referenced that for my maximum heart rate. So we're now in 2021, so about six or 7 years have passed. I've decided to reduce my heart rate 5 beats because I felt that this 197 was maybe a little bit conservative. Okay, so let's calculate my VO2 max. So my VO2 max is 15 multiplied by 192 divided by 46. 46 BPM is my current average resting heart rate as per my Garmin watch. Okay, so what we get here is 15 multiplied by 4.17, and that comes out at around 62.6. Okay, so that gives me a good feeling for where I'm at in terms of VO2 max. Okay, so there you have a simple but effective formula for calculating VO2 max. Now, the reason I think this is a useful formula is it gives you a real indication as to how you can improve VO2 max. So often when you look at advice online or wherever about how to improve VO2 max, it'll give you the usual advice that you need to go out and run sessions like 5 times 3 minutes or 5 times a kilometer at your VO2 max effort, and by doing so you will push and improve VO2 max. But I think the beauty of this formula is it shows you the real importance of improving fitness being determined by your resting heart rate. So when you look at that formula, the only thing you can influence is resting heart rate. You can't increase your maximum heart rate. Maximum heart rate is fixed and it typically decreases as you age. So you can't do anything about that. It's hereditary. What you can do through a patient and consistent and varied training plan is slowly but surely bring that resting heart rate down. As you get fitter, the heart gets stronger, the heart gets bigger, it pumps blood more efficiently, and over time the heart will beat less per minute than when you started the exercise program. So I think the beauty of this formula is it really underlines the need to focus on good training, varied training, aerobic running, threshold running, VO2 max running, intervals, long runs, progression runs. So developing a training plan and sticking to it and really watching the trends, because ultimately that difference between your maximum heart rate, which is fixed and decreases over time, and the relationship that has with resting heart rate is basically your heart rate reserve. So the fundamental focus of training should be to increase that heart rate reserve. So as my resting heart rate reduces, really in effect my heart rate reserve is increasing, and that should ultimately mean an increase in VO2 max, which will feed through into performance and specifically race performance. So I hope that's been useful. I hope it's given some food for thought. I believe that is a more useful metric than, for example, Garmin VO2 Max predictions, where I went into a race last week with Garmin predicting VO2 Max at 57, and I've gone out and ran 16:01, which on the Jack Daniels V dot calculations is more like 64.5. So if I'd gone into that race believing my Garmin watch, I really wouldn't have had the confidence going into the race. Whereas with this formula, this simple formula, which you can calculate as regularly or once a week, once a month, as much as you like, I would recommend at least once a month looking at your rest and heart rate numbers. I went to that race knowing that I was in PB shape, put it all out there, and ended up running even better than the VO2 max calculation was predicting. So I hope that's been useful. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'll speak to you again on the next one.